Cancel Christmas. Why focus is the only thing that makes you rich again. Prologue. Cancel it all. I wish I could cancel Christmas. Not because I hate joy, not because I'm bitter, not because I don't love people, but because when a man is dialed in, truly dialed in, the world suddenly becomes a parade of interruptions dressed up as celebrations. Birthdays, holidays, vacations, Valentine's Day, Christmas, New Year's parties. Every single one of them shows up with the same message: pause your mission. You can afford to stop. And that's the lie. I already did Christmas last year. I already did Valentine's Day. I already did the dinners, the trips, the distractions, the romance, the obligations. And I'm still not a millionaire again. So no, I don't want another holiday. I don't want another interruption. I don't want another emotional tax disguised as tradition. I want silence. I want focus. I want momentum. I want the world to stop tugging on my sleeve while I'm rebuilding the future. Cancel Christmas isn't about hating the holiday. It's about refusing to sacrifice your next level for short-term comfort. Because when you're building something real, something big, everything that doesn't serve it feels like sabotage. Chapter 1. I already tried the holidays. People don't understand this part. They think discipline comes from hatred or anger or bitterness. It doesn't. Discipline comes from memory. I remember what happened the last time I did Valentine's Day. I remember what happened the last time I stopped my momentum for romance, for travel, for fun, for emotional appeasement. I remember saying, I'll get back on track after. And after never comes. Last year I did Valentine's Day. I showed up. I paused my grind. I entertained the fantasy. And I'm still not rich again. So when February rolled around this year, and she wanted me to drop everything and fly to Miami, I already knew the answer. Hell no. Not because I didn't care. Not because I wasn't capable of love. But because I was finally dialed in. And I refused to trade my future, again, for temporary approval. This time, I chose focus over feelings. And that's when everything changed. Chapter 2. When you tell the world no. When you tell the world no, it doesn't negotiate. It panics. She lost her mind. Not because I didn't show up in Miami, but because my no meant she no longer controlled my direction. She wanted chaos. I wanted alignment. She wanted me reactive. I wanted to execute a plan. She wanted Valentine's Day. I wanted my life back. And when I didn't bend, when I didn't explain, justify, or soften my stance, the threats came. I'll ruin your life. I'll end you. You'll regret this. People underestimate what happens when a narcissist realizes they no longer own you. They don't walk away. They burn the house down. And I didn't fully understand that power at the time. I just knew one thing. I wasn't stopping. Chapter 3. Going ghost. So I disappeared. Not in a dramatic way, not for attention, not to prove a point. I went ghost because focus requires isolation. For 10 months, I vanished from the noise. No parties, no holidays, no romance, no distractions, just preparation. People confuse disappearing with quitting. It's the opposite. Disappearing is what you do when you're building something that doesn't need permission. While the world was celebrating, I was aligning. While everyone else was enjoying life, I was stacking leverage. And yes, it was lonely. Yes, it was uncomfortable. But comfort is expensive, and I'm done paying for it. Chapter 4. Cancel Christmas, the metaphor. Christmas isn't the problem. Distraction is. Christmas is just the perfect symbol for how society trains you to pause your ambition on command. Every year, like clockwork, the world says, now stop. Stop building. Stop pushing. Stop grinding. Stop thinking long term, because tradition says so. But here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud. You don't get rich by stopping every time the calendar tells you to. You don't rebuild your life by surrendering momentum to holidays. You don't create breakthroughs by constantly resetting your focus. When a man is dialed in, when he's aligned with a vision, interruptions feel violent. They don't feel festive. They feel like theft. That's why I want Christmas over. Not because I hate it, but because I'm in the middle of something that matters more. Staying locked in. Chapter 5. The cost of not taking threats. Seriously. I didn't think she would go that far. That was my mistake. When you're dealing with a normal person, threats are emotional outbursts. When you're dealing with a narcissist, threats are previews. I underestimated how dangerous someone can become when they're willing to destroy their own life just to burn yours down with it. That's the part nobody warns you about. People assume self-preservation is universal. It isn't. Some people would rather watch everything collapse than accept that they lost control over you. And once I refused to bend, once I chose my plan over her chaos, she didn't try to win me back. She tried to erase me. Emotionally, mentally, financially, reputationally. I didn't see it coming because I assumed logic applied. It didn't. By the time I realized how deep the sabotage was going, I was already exhausted from holding the line. Chapter 6. Focus is fragile. When you're fighting on two fronts. Here's the truth no one talks about. You cannot rebuild your life while fighting a psychological war at the same time. You can pretend. You can posture. You can stay positive. But internally, you're bleeding bandwidth. By May, I was drained. Not because my plan was wrong. Not because my vision failed. But because every ounce of my mental energy was being consumed by unnecessary emotional warfare. I was trying to launch businesses, manage large financial commitments, stay disciplined, hold my ground emotionally, stay calm under constant provocation. That's not strength. That's unsustainable. Eventually, something has to give. And what gave wasn't my discipline. It was my tolerance. Chapter 7. The decision to burn the board. I didn't want to be alone in that house. That's the part I don't sugarcoat. I built it for a future that no longer existed. Yes, I would have loved that house regardless. Yes, it made sense financially. Yes, it was strategic. But the truth is, I didn't build it to sit in silence. I built it with a shared future in mind. And when that future collapsed, the house became a reminder instead of a foundation. That's when my brother said something that cut through everything. Why don't you just get rid of it all and come back to Puerto Rico? At first it sounded like failure. Then it sounded like relief. Sometimes the smartest move isn't doubling down. It's stepping back to regroup before you lose your edge completely. So I burned the board. I took the losses. I absorbed the hit. I walked away from something that looked good on paper but felt wrong in reality. And that decision, as painful as it was, saved me. Chapter 8. Be careful what you pray for. I prayed for clarity. I prayed for separation. I prayed for a clean break. I prayed for whatever it took to stop me from going back. And I got it. Not gently, not cleanly, not peacefully. I got it violently, emotionally, mentally, financially. The universe doesn't negotiate with half commitments. When you ask to be freed from something you keep returning to, sometimes it doesn't untangle it. Sometimes it destroys it. And as brutal as that period was, as unbearable as the collapse felt, it worked. Had it happened any softer, I would have gone back. Had it been any easier, I would have rationalized another chance. But this way, there was no confusion, no temptation, no nostalgia strong enough to override survival. The bridge didn't just burn, it exploded. And that's why I was finally free. Chapter 9. returning to the natural order. I didn't need to reinvent myself. That's the lie people tell when they lose momentum. I didn't need a new identity. I didn't need a new personality. I didn't need a new philosophy. I needed to return to the natural order. The natural order is what happens when you stop betraying your strengths to accommodate other people's insecurities. For years, I stayed out of the mortgage business. Not because I couldn't dominate it, not because I didn't understand it, not because the opportunity wasn't there, but because I didn't want conflict. I didn't want friction. I didn't want to step on toes, especially within my own family. So I delayed. I detoured. I found other ways to win, and I paid for that hesitation with time. The collapse forced the issue. It removed every excuse I had left for not stepping back into what I already knew how to do at a high level. The mortgage business didn't feel new. It felt familiar, like muscle memory coming back online, and that's how I knew I wasn't rebuilding. I was realigning. Chapter 10. Why remote income changed everything. Here's the irony. For years, I wished I could earn the kind of money I was used to earning, but remotely. I wanted freedom. I wanted leverage. I wanted location independence. But I never fully committed to making that real. I flirted with the idea. I talked about it. I imagined it. Then life collapsed and forced my hand. Remote work wasn't a luxury anymore. It was survival. And suddenly the pieces fit. Mortgage production, online marketing, coaching, consulting, AI systems, personal brand leverage. All of it could be run from anywhere. Colorado, Puerto Rico, anywhere I chose. What I thought I had lost, stability, was replaced with something more powerful. Control. Control over my time. Control over my income streams. Control over my future. The collapse didn't shrink my world. It removed its walls. Chapter 11. The year that looked like failure. On paper, this year looks ugly. Lost money, abandoned projects, and broken relationships, emotional devastation, mental exhaustion. But paper lies. Because while it felt like I was losing ground, something else was happening underneath. I got my mortgage license. I rebuilt my online presence. I reestablished my brand. I launched new websites. I set up systems. I rebuilt leverage. Quietly. Relentlessly. Without applause. The state delayed my license for months. At the time, it felt like another insult. In hindsight, it was protection. Had it come through earlier, I would have committed to another situation that wasn't aligned. Instead, it landed exactly when it needed to. October. Right on time for next year. The year didn't reward me publicly. It prepared me privately. Chapter 12. Why next year is already won. This is the part people don't understand. I'm not hoping next year will be better. I'm not manifesting. I'm not staying positive. I'm positioned. I've already done the hard part. I eliminated distractions. I severed toxic ties. I absorbed the losses. I rebuilt the infrastructure. I returned to my strengths. I aligned my income with my freedom. Most people try to fix their lives while still entertaining the same interruptions. I canceled mine. I canceled Valentine's Day. I canceled Christmas. I canceled chaos. I canceled obligation. I canceled emotional blackmail. And in doing so, I gave myself the one thing that actually creates wealth. Uninterrupted focus over time. That's why next year isn't a gamble. It's a consequence. Epilogue. Stay ghost. If there's one rule I'm keeping, it's this. Stay ghost until the work is done. Not because you owe anyone an explanation. Not because you're hiding. Not because you're afraid. But because momentum dies in the presence of spectators. Let them celebrate. Let them vacation. Let them interrupt each other. You're not canceling joy. You're canceling delay. And when the world finally notices what you built in silence, Christmas can come back.